Some new horror games don't just look good, they look almost unreal. From visuals to gameplay ideas, these titles feel like they're pushing way beyond what we usually expect, almost too good to be true. What if you were a lighthouse keeper who suddenly gets news that your son has gone missing? That's the idea behind Will Follow the Light. The story follows Will, a man living in isolation by the sea, who leaves everything behind after receiving a radio message about a disaster in his hometown. With no clear answers, he sets out across cold, dangerous waters, holding on to the hope that he can still find his child. The gameplay focuses on first-person exploration with realistic travel mechanics. You don't just walk from place to place. You sail a boat across rough seas, move through icy terrain, and even use a dog sled to reach remote areas. Along the way, you solve environmental puzzles and follow small clues that slowly guide you forward. Instead of fast action or constant danger, Will Follow the Light creates tension through its setting and emotional focus, telling a quiet story about a father doing everything he can to reach his son.
If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
Have you ever played a game with a PvPvE concept? This game, Nakwon Last Paradise, uses that idea in a way that feels pretty unique. It takes place in a ruined city in South Korea after a zombie outbreak, where you're not only dealing with infected enemies, but also other players who are trying to survive and escape just like you. The gameplay mixes survival, looting, and extraction mechanics into one loop. You head out into the city at night to gather food, weapons, and resources, then return to your shelter to prepare for the next run. But every trip is risky, because you can run into zombies or other players who might help you, or turn against you. One of the most interesting parts is the freedom in how you survive. You can sneak past danger, run away, team up with others, or attack players to take their loot. Every decision changes how each session plays out, making every run feel different.
Such delicious torment. It is done. She belongs to the labyrinth now. But perhaps we can come to an arrangement.
What do you want from me?
Have you forgotten about Pinhead? He's coming back in Clive Barker's Hellraiser Revival, and this time the experience is pushed even further with a much more extreme and brutal approach. The game follows a man named Aiden, who must use a mysterious puzzle box called the Genesis configuration to rescue his girlfriend from a hellish dimension known as the Labyrinth, where the Cenobites rule. The gameplay is built as a first-person survival horror experience, mixing combat, stealth, and puzzle solving. Players can fight using melee weapons and firearms, but not every enemy can be defeated directly. Some encounters force you to hide or escape, while others let you use the power of the puzzle box itself, which grants abilities like telekinesis. What really makes this game stand out is how far it pushes the tone. The developers aim to stay true to the original Hellraiser vision, which means heavy gore, disturbing imagery, and mature themes are a core part of the experience. The Dark Pictures is back with a new title called Directive 8020, and this time it feels more intense and more psychological than before. The story takes place on a spaceship called Cassiopeia, where a group of crew members are sent to find a new home for humanity. But everything goes wrong when they encounter an alien organism that can mimic humans perfectly, making it almost impossible to tell who is real and who is not. The tension comes from one simple idea. Can you trust the people around you? Because anyone on the ship could secretly be the enemy. This creates constant paranoia, where even your closest ally might actually be something else hiding behind a familiar face. The concept feels similar to a clone or imposter situation, where one wrong decision could lead to someone's death. With its sci-fi setting, shape-shifting threat, and heavy focus on trust and betrayal, Directive 8020 looks like a fresh step for the series, where the real horror isn't just the monster, but not knowing who is still human.
Open the fucking door! You can't leave me out here! Please!
Gotta make a choice.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
Cordura comes with a horror concept that feels fresh and rarely seen, focusing not just on monsters but on trust between players. It's a 1-to-4 player co-op psychological horror game where you and your team enter a shifting Victorian mansion to complete missions and escape alive. The gameplay is built around sanity, permadeath, and teamwork. Your sanity slowly drops while exploring, especially in darkness, and when it gets low, strange things begin to happen. The only way to recover is by staying close to your teammates, but that's where the real tension begins. If you die, your character is gone permanently, which makes every decision feel risky and important. What makes it stand out is the mimic system, where the entity can copy your teammates, their voice, appearance, and even call your name through voice chat. The game actively creates paranoia, forcing you to question every encounter. Someone walking toward you might actually be your friend, or something pretending to be them.
The roses. That's why you're here. That place'll make your skin crawl. But it'll make you rich. Break in, take it, get out. And keep it quiet. We don't know what happens in there, but that place, it twists men.
Hello?
That wasn't in my head. There is something here. Thomas.
Imagine a game like Aphelion, developed in collaboration with the European Space Agency, where the space science actually feels grounded and believable. Instead of pure sci-fi fantasy, the game builds its world based on real ideas about space, planets, and future missions, making the journey feel more authentic from the start. The game uses a dual perspective system, where you switch between two astronauts, Ariane and Thomas. Each of them has a different role and gameplay style. Ariane focuses on movement, climbing, and surviving dangerous terrain, while Thomas deals more with investigation and understanding what's happening on the planet. This creates a balance between action and story as the two perspectives connect throughout the game. With its mix of realistic space science, dual-character gameplay, and a persistent threat like Nemesis, Aphelion feels like a different kind of sci-fi experience, one that focuses on survival, tension, and the human side of exploring the unknown. Remothered Red Nun Legacy is a horror game with mechanics and system that feel fresh and unpredictable compared to most survival horror titles. The story follows Susan, a mother searching for her missing daughter, leading her into a decaying estate connected to a dark past and a mysterious figure known as the Red Nun. As she explores deeper, reality itself starts to shift, making it hard to trust what is real and what is not. The gameplay focuses on stealth, survival, and investigation, but it doesn't follow a simple pattern. Players must avoid stalker-type enemies that constantly roam the area, forcing you to adapt instead of memorizing routes. You're not always meant to fight. Sometimes hiding, escaping, or observing is the only way to survive. With its mix of stealth gameplay and psychological elements, Remothered Red Nun Legacy creates tension through uncertainty. It's not just about surviving enemies, but also about dealing with a world that keeps changing in ways you don't always expect.
What are we willing to do to save our children?
The bodies of 4 of the previously reported missing people have been found.
Liberty, equality, fraternity, or death. The last, much the easiest to bestow. We knew that before the bacterium emptied the towns and cities. Before the herds were driven into the water, and houses burned so hot that the stone...
Hunger takes place in a dark version of Napoleonic Europe, where war has already destroyed the land, but something far worse is spreading across it. A mysterious plague has twisted people, animals, and the environment into something unnatural. Players step into the role of survivors, trying to stay alive in a world filled with chaos, ruined cities, and constant danger. Players take on the role of a survivor who must gather resources, fight terrifying monsters, and also deal with other players. The game uses a PvPvE extraction system, meaning every run is about entering dangerous areas, collecting loot, and escaping alive. What makes Hunger stand out is how it combines survival, horror, and player interaction in one system. It's not just about fighting monsters, but also about making decisions under pressure. Whether to trust another player or take the risk and fight for your survival in a world where danger can come from anywhere. Silent Hill Townfall comes back with a new direction, but it still keeps the core feeling of the series. This time, the story follows a man named Simon Ordell, who wakes up in a fog-covered town called St. Amelia, with no clear answers, only a strange device and a voice guiding him forward. The setting moves away from the usual locations and shifts into a cold, isolated Scottish town, giving the game a different atmosphere while still feeling like Silent Hill. The gameplay is now built in a first-person perspective, which makes everything feel closer and more intense. Players explore, solve narrative-driven puzzles, and survive using limited tools. One key item is the CRTV device, which works like a modern version of the classic radio, helping detect signals, uncover clues, and understand what's happening around you. With its new setting, first-person gameplay, and deeper narrative focus, Silent Hill Townfall feels like a fresh take on the franchise, one that keeps the tension of the original while trying something different for modern players. Townfall Light is not just another shooter. It mixes tactical gameplay with horror in a way that feels intense and unpredictable. The game is a PvPvPvE first-person extraction shooter, where multiple squads enter a dangerous zone to secure an artifact and escape alive. But it's not only about fighting other players, because the environment itself is filled with strange anomalies that can hunt you at any moment. The gameplay focuses on team-based strategy and survival. Each match includes several squads competing for the same objective, which means every decision matters. You can move carefully with your team, plan your route, and avoid danger, or take risks and confront enemies directly. The atmosphere feels heavily inspired by SCP-style horror, with dark environments, strange creatures, and a constant sense that something is watching you. Even the interface is designed to feel realistic, using in-game devices instead of a typical HUD to keep immersion strong. This game is developed by Frogwares, with a different approach compared to its predecessor, both in setting and fully rebuilt gameplay, The Sinking City 2. This time, the story moves to the flooded city of Arkham in the 1920s, a place consumed by a supernatural disaster where water, decay, and strange creatures take over the streets. Unlike the first game, this sequel tells a new standalone story, so players don't need prior knowledge to understand what's happening. The biggest change comes from the gameplay. Instead of focusing mainly on detective work, the game shifts into a full survival horror experience. Players must fight eldritch monsters, manage limited resources, and explore a semi-open world where rising water constantly changes the environment. With its shift towards survival horror, a new setting, and redesigned systems, The Sinking City 2 feels like a fresh take on the series, one that focuses more on tension, danger, and survival, rather than just investigation. End of Abyss is a game that combines Metroidvania elements with a darker sci-fi horror setting. The story follows a character named Cell, who is sent deep underground into a mysterious facility where something has clearly gone wrong. As you move deeper, the environment becomes more unstable, filled with strange creatures and remnants of failed experiments. The gameplay blends exploration, combat, and progression in a Metroidvania style. Players unlock new abilities and tools that allow access to previously blocked areas, encouraging backtracking and discovery. Combat is fast but requires awareness, as enemies can appear in tight spaces and react quickly to your movements. What makes it stand out is the top-down perspective combined with atmospheric horror design. The camera angle gives a clear view of the surroundings, but the lighting and environment still create tension as you move through dark corridors and unknown areas.
Evidence of a truth so unfathomable, it will rewrite the history of humankind. The Cyclopean ruins we've discovered during our initial exploration are proof that civilizations rose and fell on Earth in its antediluvian past.
is this place?
Our first manned expedition. We'll leave for the city in 2 days' time. We'll set up a base camp from which to conduct our exploration. If the maze is any indication.
Cthulhu, the Cosmic Abyss, is a horror game that leans into cosmic mystery and psychological tension rather than simple scares. The story takes place in the near future, where a deep-sea mining station in the Pacific suddenly goes silent. You play as Noah, an occult investigator sent to uncover what really happened far below the ocean's surface. As the investigation goes deeper, the setting shifts into the ancient underwater city of R'lyeh, a massive and strange place connected to the myth of Cthulhu. The world is not just dangerous physically, but also mentally, as the influence of something unknown slowly affects your perception and sanity. The gameplay focuses on first-person investigation mixed with psychological horror mechanics. Players explore tight underwater environments, examine clues, and use tools like scanning systems to understand what happened. Choices and discoveries can shape how the story unfolds, while the constant pressure comes from not fully understanding what is around you. ILL is one of the most anticipated horror games right now, known for its realistic visuals and intense, disturbing atmosphere that stands out from typical horror titles. The game takes place in a dark research fort overtaken by a mysterious entity, where everything has turned into something unnatural. As you explore deeper, you face creatures that move and react in ways that feel unpredictable and unsettling. The gameplay is built as a first-person survival horror experience that mixes action with tension. Players explore, gather resources, manage weapons, and survive encounters that can change depending on how you react. Some moments allow you to fight back, while others force you to rely on awareness and quick decisions to stay alive. One of the biggest highlights is its hyper-realistic physics and body reaction system. Enemies respond to damage in detailed ways, and the environment itself can affect combat and movement. Even weapons need attention, like checking for malfunctions or upgrading them, which adds another layer to the survival aspect.
I can't remember much of anything. Why don't I remember any of this?
Even if you escape, the whole world will hunt for you.
The power within you is extraordinary. I know you must have a lot of questions. Right now, this place is swarming with creatures. We need to get out of here together, but we'll have to rely on your powers.
Psycho Dead puts you in control of a mysterious girl named Elixia, who has powerful psychic abilities. She is trapped inside a secret laboratory filled with terrifying creatures created from failed experiments. As she tries to escape, the deeper she goes, the more she uncovers about what really happened in that place and why she is connected to it. The gameplay combines classic survival horror elements like limited resources, puzzles, and backtracking with psychic abilities such as psychokinesis, which lets you push or pull objects, and shock shot, a ranged attack that uses energy instead of traditional weapons. This mix allows players to approach situations in different ways, whether by fighting, escaping, or using the environment to their advantage. With its blend of survival horror mechanics and psychic-based gameplay, Psycho Dead offers a different kind of experience where combat, puzzles, and exploration all connect through Elixia's abilities, creating a tense and flexible way to survive. Kojima has announced a new game called OD, and from what has been shown so far, the gameplay is still being kept secret. The reveal focused more on atmosphere and concept rather than mechanics, leaving many players curious about what kind of experience it will actually deliver. The project is developed by Kojima Productions in collaboration with filmmaker Jordan Peele, and it is described as a new kind of horror experience. Even without clear gameplay details, one thing that stands out is the visual presentation. The trailer uses advanced technology, including cloud processing and performance capture, to create highly realistic facial expressions and environments. It already shows the level of detail people expect from Hideo Kojima's projects. Knowing Kojima's history, expectations are already high. He is known for pushing boundaries and creating experiences that feel different from typical games. So even though gameplay is still unknown, OD already feels like a project that could aim for something next level, both visually and conceptually. Imagine a game inspired by three big names like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and Signalis. That's how Liminal Point was born. The game blends classic survival horror ideas with a modern touch, creating a world that feels familiar but still different. The story follows a woman named Lyra, who travels to a quiet coastal town to search for her missing sister, only to find the place empty, strange, and slowly falling apart. The gameplay uses an isometric perspective, which gives a clear view of the environment while still keeping the tension high. Players explore the town, solve puzzles, and manage limited resources while dealing with enemies that can't always be handled head-on. There's also a strong emphasis on atmosphere and storytelling. With its mix of classic horror inspiration, isometric gameplay, and psychological elements, Liminal Point looks like a game that tries to bring old-school survival horror into a more modern and thoughtful experience. MINSK is a survival horror game set in a dark, post-apocalyptic world where humanity is close to extinction and cities are covered in toxic fog. Players take control of an android created by a lone engineer, sent out to explore abandoned areas and search for resources that could help what's left of civilization survive. The story is not just about survival. During the journey, the android encounters another robot controlled by a scientist, and their connection slowly builds into something deeper. The game focuses on themes like loneliness, hope, and connection between machines and humans, giving it a more emotional layer compared to typical horror games. Gameplay uses a third-person perspective and mixes exploration, combat, and resource management. Players move through vertical environments filled with ruins, climb structures, and search for hidden paths while dealing with hostile machines and dangerous areas. The design encourages careful exploration rather than rushing forward.